I'm going to do something here and force you to have to be the one that completes a row. So I'm going to take a team from the second row. I am going to go with my Oklahoma City Thunder because they're so often ascribed to me. And you know what? I will gladly take that ownership. They won, Grant, 57 games last year. Did you know that? That's quite a lot of basketball games.
A lot.
I have them as better. You could tell me that they went 74-8 and I'd be like, I believe it. Their roster is so deep and so talented. And I think they addressed two of what I considered their three biggest needs, where it's, can we get someone into the closing lineup that you know is going to be more of a reliable shooter than Lou Dort or Josh Giddey? In comes Alex Caruso, and you sacrifice nothing defensively, even if you're not playing Lou Dort, basically. Lou Dort is stronger, for sure. But now if he's just replacing the Josh Giddey minutes, my God. You get Isaiah Hartenstein, who can play next to Chet Holmgren, is going to give you a presence on the glass. He has some dynamism to him on the offensive end in terms of a passer. I think they're actually going to let him shoot threes. Tom Thibodeau would not in New York. And I look at this roster and I go, they just have Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe are floating around like their 7th and 8th most important players, and they would certainly be more than that to any other team. What is the theory of the Thunder being worse? And I think you could point to and say they still kind of need the other shot creator because Jalen Williams wasn't there during the postseason. And so it's all on Shea at points. Guess what? We talk a lot about players getting better. You know who's going to continue to get better? Jalen Williams. That's not you saying this. That's me. So I feel like it means something now.
Yeah. It's not just total bullshit. Cause I would say no matter what, he could be dead. And I'd be like, I really like his outlook next year.
You're more casual about throwing around the superstar designation to him, but you're not wrong. It's just, you say it more often. That's that's absolutely his ceiling. So I'm in lockstep with you on him. And it's also just, I'm open to the idea that Aaron Wiggins is going to continue to get better. And I also think, we've mentioned this already, a big part of just going from Josh Giddey to Alex Caruso is in the one big minutes. Your floor should just be completely spaced out now. In terms of, Josh Giddey spaced the floor, but defenses didn't care. They're going to care when Alex Caruso, who just shot over 40% from three on pretty good volume, is out there. They're going to be able to explore more of the on-ball dynamic from Chet Holmgren. And even if you don't think he's going to develop all of these different counters, you're just going to drive into the lane, and he has enough of a handle to make things happen there, whether it's kickouts or just get finishing at the basket from mid-range. Like, that's stuff that's within his arsenal. This is I'm going to tell you right now, and things could change. I have kicked around the idea of just picking Oklahoma City to win the title. And I think because I didn't disrespect, I ended up being way too low on the Celtics last year. I'm reticent to pick anyone other than them, but this team is right there. And it just, you don't get to use the excuse, well, they haven't played in the moment yet. They just did in the playoffs. And the Mavericks kind of gave them the old what for at one point, but now they've gone through it. And their player, like Jalen Williams specifically, I think is a player who's going to be better. Like, he might have been the single player on that roster who benefited most from just that postseason crucible.
Yep. No, I think, I'm trying to think of a different angle to take here. I would focus on the defense, I think, which was really good last year. They were 4th, right? So, but in terms of relatively, that was their worst end of the floor because they were 3rd on offense. Can you just think about being an opposing offensive player and seeing a lineup, however you want to do, whoever the 5th guy is? It could be Cason Wallace, it could be J-Dub, it could be Hartenstein. You got Caruso, Dort, SGA, and Chet Holmgren on the floor defensively. This team is going to be the best defense in the league. I feel really confident. I don't know if they're going to win the most games because Boston exists, but I just think the personnel is so good defensively. They have I don't know where you rank them, but between Caruso and Dort, they're, immediate mentions in who's the guy that sucks the most to be guarded by on the perimeter. They got 2 of them. And I think Chet Holmgren is he's kind of taking on my new J-Dub mantle, where it's I think he's going to join Williams as someone that's if maybe both of them won't be all-stars, but they will both be guys that we talk about a lot when we're picking, ahead of time. And I think even if they, here's the other thing, even if they hadn't gone out and gotten Caruso and Hartenstein, I would still pick them to win more games. So how do you pick them to win fewer when they went and got 2 phenomenal additions to the roster?
You picked them to win fewer because the number is just intimidating. on
I don't
paper. I
care.
think it's
I wouldn't.
easier for fans of teams, and this isn't an insult. I hate that I feel the need to clarify this all the time, but it's not an insult. But fans of the team are like, yeah, they're going to win 63 or something. It's
Right,
just
right, right.
harder for me zoomed out to the 60 win. Like that's what they don't need to get there to be better, but they're 57. Like being better looks like getting into 60 win territory,
Mhm.
and that number has always been inherently intimidating for me. Just like to predict that a team will win it, but
Sure.
this is if you have to predict one team in the regular season to win that many games, this is the team because Boston's dealing with the Porzingis injury until like 2025,
Yeah,
probably.
and they don't. Boston now knows we don't need to do that again. Like they should be so
And
confident that they can keep the foot off for a little while.
to be fair, the Thunder don't need to do that, but they have like two good rotations in one. Like they just
Yeah,
have like 10 guys that would be like,
right.
their 6 through 10 guys might be the top 5 on certain teams,
Well,
basically. Clearly
and they're
overstated.
younger, and it's like, yeah, they're probably stinging a little bit from how they went out, and it's just like it's one of those things. How do you factor in like a mentality or like motivation to a win total? Isn't it just easier to imagine the Thunder being like, fuck it, like we're going for, like we are dead serious about this. We have so much to prove. We're all young, like we can run forever. Like it's just they're well coached. We haven't even talked about that. Like
Right.
Mark Daigneault is gonna organize these guys in the correct way. It's not
And
like
you
it's gonna be
feel
hard
good.
to fit them.
And this is not, maybe Ime Udoka will be fine with it, but when you're talking about having too many guys to play, like Oklahoma City, in theory, is a team like that. But Mark Daigneault, like that's just been the status quo since he came into Oklahoma City is, hey, you need to figure out a way to fit 20 guys into this 12-man rotation. Because like when you look at their top 10, like we didn't mention Jay Will or Kenrich Williams, they're like, and you include Aaron Wiggins, I think you can say comfortably there are 10 to 11 guys that would just get minutes on every single other team in the NBA. If you feel weird about Jay Will, okay, fine. But then there are 10 guys. And also, by the way, they seem pretty invested in Dylan Jones. They move up to get him. They'll probably find developmental minutes for him with the big club too. So and you didn't say it specifically. You laid it out with the lineups. They just have 4 dudes. And depending on how you feel about off-ball disruption with SGA, they have 5 dudes that could just make all defense.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. They're less subject to like the vagaries of, oh, it's an off shooting night. They can just win games defensively. That's going to be the same all the time. Like that's not going to fluctuate. They just have the guys that guard the whole. I don't know what else we need to say. We're getting over our skis a little bit.
The one thing that might be interesting, I'm not manifesting it, but if they are a team as good as they are, and you could say this about a lot of teams, do you feel comfortable like if Shea needs to miss some time, they feel more at risk than if Jason Tatum needs to miss some time in Boston?
Yeah, with Shea specifically, I guess, just because what we saw is that other than him in the playoffs, like there's not someone that can reliably get shots. I don't know if I'd foreclose on either Holmgren or J-Dub, like improving enough to where that's not fatal. But yeah, I think you're right about that. Like the Celtics the numbers bore it out last year, right? The Celtics were still awesome without Tatum. SGA. Yeah, well, actually, I don't remember what the on-off splits were for SGA. I just remember they weren't as good as Jokic's, but nobody's are. So
I'm gonna say that they're probably gonna win 62 or more games next season.
They're my pick to run away with the West, whatever that means. I think they've tied with the Wolves at 57. I don't see anybody else having improved themselves as much as the Thunder did.